Welcome once again. I'm Noor Anand Chawla and I'm here on behalf of Bonobology. And Bonobology, as I was saying, is a space dedicated entirely to discussions on couple relationships. The website offers a secure, fun and non-judgmental space to urban Indians to read about, share and discuss their own story. Sorry, I'm looking there because my laptop is where all the information is, so please forgive me for that. Also, reading about others is just a really nice way to be able to figure out solutions to your problems oftentimes. But the best part and most important part is that Bonobology offers counseling sessions. So for anybody who is looking for a relationship counselor, please check out the link in our bio. So now, of course, coming to the guest of the day, Dr. Aman Bhonsle. So Dr. Aman describes himself as a relationship counselor, a psychotherapist, a corporate trainer, and a mindset coach. So primarily, his practice is in the field of relationship counseling, youth mentorship, applied transactional analysis. He has authored 3 books on this subject, the first being Essential TA, A Common Sense Psychology. The second one is called What the Fuck, but with a Q, co-authored with his parents, Dr. Rajan Bhonsle and Dr. Meenu Bhonsle, and most recently, Sex, Traps and Scraps. Has that been released, Doctor?
It's in the pipeline and you guys will have it very soon. Currently just chasing some deadlines with the publisher, but we should be on the road to having it published.
Great. Looking forward to it. And please keep us informed when it does come out.
Absolutely.
So he also writes articles and columns for various leading publications. And in addition to his many achievements, Dr. Aman conducts workshops for corporates and has been a renowned keynote speaker at several international forums. Dr. Aman is a published author on a range of subjects, and of course I've already mentioned that, including the Free Press Journal, Complete Wellbeing, NDTV, Hindustan Times, Men's Health, etc. His clients vary through different age groups and backgrounds, and he meets them in his clinical practice at the Heart Counselling Centre in Mumbai, India. So welcome, Dr. Aman, and let's begin this most interesting discussion.
Let's jump right in. Let's start off some content. All right.
Okay, so what, according to you, are the primary causes for infidelity? And I'm talking here about, marriages that have had a long duration or a short one, because it's never really limited to either or, right?
Yep.
So over to you.
So, several reasons really. The number one reason is boredom. You're just bored with your partner. They've stopped exciting you as they once did. The second reason would be that you feel like the partner that you fell in love with initially is completely different from the person you are currently married to, because that person has evolved or changed. Maybe they don't want the same things anymore. Maybe their work has evolved and now they're a lot more stressed out. Maybe motherhood has changed. The wife, maybe the husband's, had to move around for his job, and now with the new boss, he's extremely stressed out. So this is a very common thing we hear in clinical practice. We say, the person I married, you're a lot more highly strung. You don't want sex as much as you used to want it anymore. Weight, or you grow older, or these are the reasons we commonly hear. So that again can be linked with boredom, but there's also a sense of shock that who the hell have I married, and am I stuck? You'll be surprised to know that a lot of people also stray from their partners as a sign of rebellion, as if to say, guess what, I can do it and I can get away with it because I'm going to walk away scot-free. So it's as if they're daring their partner to say, let's see what you can do about it. Because this is very commonly observed as well, women looking at their male partners as another version of their fathers who they never had the chance to rebel against. So therefore all men are worth rebelling against, and they all deserve a punch on the face. You give them one, so you give them one metaphorically by cheating on them or by belittling them. I had a client, who had come to me. He said, my wife has this women's group where she shares memes of me while I'm sleeping, and now I want to divorce her. And I already have someone in my office I like.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm going to be fine, but, I can't be with this woman anymore because she's turned me into a joke. So you see, the problems are multi-layered. It's not as easy to say, okay, these are the 3 reasons and there are no others. But yes, these are a few that are occurring to me. And I think usually people cheat on their partners when there is a mismatch of agendas. I've never said this on live chat ever, but I've been cheated on as well. And let me just say this, it was many years ago. And the first thing we need to admit is it sucks. Because I think The I think it's like someone taking a pot shot at what you wish for yourself, or someone's, as they say in Hindi, किसी ने आपका मजाक बना के छोड़ दिया है.
Yes.
Because it's like the most sacred, the most sacred value that people hold close to themselves when they're in relationships is trust. With a little bit of respect, a little bit of sensitivity, hopefully a little bit of fun as well. But when the trust has been severed, sometimes it's not easy to just pick yourself up and say, okay, sabke saath hota hai, and now I'm going to move on with it as well. It's a very humiliating ordeal. I think that's the word where that can describe being cheated on. It's humiliating, it's shocking, it's also agonizing, but most importantly, it's infuriating. And then you start wondering, why the hell does this happen to me? What have I done to set myself up for this kind of betrayal, for this kind of horrendous joke on what I wanted for myself and what I wanted for the relationship?
That's true. Yet there are also so many examples of relationships, where the partner is aware that they are being cheated on, yet they continue on with the relationship. They just stay on. So, I mean, there are multitude of situations, right?
Yeah. Because what happens, Noor, is a lot of people get very, very habituated to a certain lifestyle. So for a woman, for example, I'm just giving a woman's example.
Absolutely. No, that is more frequent, I would say.
All right. So if there's a woman who, maybe she lived in Borivali, a bit far away, and now she's married this really rich guy who lives in Malabar Hill with a 5-bedroom house, but he figures out that, okay, he's cheating on me. What standing up for herself would mean for her would be that she has to give up the posh life, the chauffeur-driven cars, the high teas at the Trident, the new circle of friends that she has taken 8 years to build, based her husband's friends, wives, etc.
Yes.
So she feels like, I am now having to undo 8 years worth of work. So I might as well just accept the fact that he's doing his thing. Exactly, he's doing his thing on the side. He buys me my Louis Vuittons and takes me to the Amalfi Coast, and we look nice on Instagram together. And my family is largely happy that I traded up.
That also is.
So these are things as well, for people to, and sometimes it means upending the kids, dragging them as there's a courtroom battle, dragging them left, right, and center. Who do you love more? Do you love mama more? Do you love papa more? So very often the lifestyle benefits or the logistics of living get completely disturbed when a partner wants to separate from their spouse. And yes, if they're married, because marriage is a loyalty contract that is legally ratified, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you describe it? So
it is absolutely a legal contract.
Absolutely. So then how are you then? It's costly and emotionally draining, and then people are going to speculate and say, oh, we knew he can't hold down a woman, he's a wild stallion, or we knew she can't keep her man happy, she's extremely impulsive. And people like a bit of chatter, which is why a show like Big Boss is so popular in India, because we have to celebrate each other's miseries as a society. And that's unfortunate, but it's true, isn't it?
Absolutely true.
But it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. I completely agree with you. But I don't think it's limited to India, by the way. I think it's a global phenomenon. People do love to celebrate each other's miseries, unfortunately.
In a way, to say that, oh, look, at least I'm not that effed up, that messed up.
Yeah, to feel better about themselves.
I'm not that screwed up. Others are more screwed up. I'm fine. That kind of.
Okay, so now, leading on from that first question about the primary reasons that people do it, quite interestingly, if it's a partner's neglect or lack of sexual compatibility or constant emotional abuse being the cause of an affair, do you think it's forgivable?
Well, that's like saying, is cancer survivable? Well, it really depends on your body's constitution, right? Some people will survive cancer if they go for their chemo and for their radiation therapy, their resistance otherwise has been good and they're not overweight and they don't have comorbidities. And some people won't survive it. It'll take their life. So really, it depends about how are you constituted internally. All right. So is infidelity survivable? There is no answer to that. It really depends on what has been the trajectory of your experiences as somebody in relationships. Assuming this is not your first rodeo, you've been in relationships before. if you have been cheated on before as well, or if you have a history whereby your trust has been broken and then you get married and then you get cheated on, then you are less likely to be that forgiving. You say, you know what, this is it. I've reached my breaking point. Whereby if you've largely, not been cheated on, you've had a largely sheltered existence, and you also believe in the power of reformation and that people change and people can learn to be better and can, rise above themselves and rise above their base instincts. If that is your belief, then you may say, all right, so what? The husband made a drunken error and slept with the secretary, or the wife shagged the gym trainer. It's fine. Otherwise, she's been a good friend to me, and maybe I've been taking too many business trips. So it really depends on the nuances of the relationship itself, on the nuances that are connected to the past of the individual, and also generally what kind of mindset do you really have? Like, do you innately believe people can change, or do you innately believe no one changes? You just have to manage with curate a dignified space for yourself within the chaos of life, within the chaos of marriage. How do I keep some things extremely close to the chest? How do I make sure that I'm respected, that I'm not treated like dirt, that I'm given space to be who I am, and I'm able to speak and negotiate through the relationship? So all these factors have to be considered, and then you can make a personal assessment as to whether you are willing to move beyond being cheated on. Personally, for me, I would not forgive my spouse if she cheated on me. Maybe I'd forgive her over time, but I'd not want to be someone like that.
But actually, I was also talking about it from a different perspective. So, if the person who is doing the cheating, they are suffering because of lack of sexual compatibility. Their partner is emotionally abusing them. Right. And so they have strayed and gone outside looking for this. Right. Then, should the partner be able to identify that this is actually their fault, which has led to their partner cheating?
Yes, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. This is remind me of the movie Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, right? With Shah Rukh Khan cheating on Preeti Zinta, Rani Mukherjee. It's a very silly movie, but it's the same thing. I get what you're saying. I think why most partners are in the dark is because their partners have either stopped communicating with them completely, or communicating using guises like sarcasm, or they're making acerbic comments. Like, typically how we see in movies, right? A mother will tell her son, "Arey, tu to apni maa ko bhul gaya hai." It's like, imagine a wife saying that to her husband, "Oh, you don't care about me. You only wanted me for my body. You don't have any concerns for my emotional needs." And then the husband says, "Yeah, she's a pain in the ass. Who's going to listen to that shit?" So you see, people either don't communicate, or the communication is bitter, leaving a very sour aftertaste. Bitter and sour at the same time. You're like, not that woman, please, please, please. I'd rather go elsewhere and have my emotional and physical needs met. It can be the other way around as well. So yes, it's important to communicate with a little bit of respect. I always say this, I can accept it if someone doesn't like me. It's okay. Everyone doesn't have to like me. But what I can't accept is someone speaks in a disrespectful manner to me, because that to me is where I seal the door. I say, all right, you're out. You're out.
Fair enough.
That's fine, because not everyone can be in. There's limited real estate in here and in my life for rudeness, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to set these standards for yourself. And you have to hold yourself accountable to whom? To yourself, for upholding those standards with people, with spouses, with colleagues, with bosses, with even strangers. Because you get to decide what is okay for you. No one does that for you. You can't outsource that, right?
Absolutely. So before we move on to the next question, I'm just going to reiterate to our audience here that if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments box, and I will take them either in the middle if it's relevant, or later on. So you feel free to start a discussion or ask anything that you want to.
And if for some reason I can't answer the question here, you can always DM me, follow me on Instagram. You guys know it's Dr. Aman Bhonsle. I'll reply on DM whenever I can. So yeah, don't hesitate.
Absolutely. Okay, so then, now this is again a slightly gray area. So if someone is out
behind me, okay, everything is gray. Shirt is gray.
Shirt, mine also. I think we deliberately chose it. So, if someone is outrightly flirting with some other person, and they're not physically cheating on their partner, but there is like immense amount of flirting, immense amount of time texting them on the phone, perhaps checking out their pictures, and consequently neglecting their partner. Does that constitute emotional cheating? And if so, is emotional cheating at par with physical cheating?
Well, I wouldn't look at it as some kind of competition, but the way I see it, emotional cheating is a thing. Now, I have known of people who have never physically cheated on their wives, but for 25 years they have had a parallel family whereby there's a woman and her son from her previous marriage, and he's bought
Okay.
a house and a Mercedes.
Oh my
Now,
God.
you may wonder what status does
Yeah.
that have in his life. His thing is, oh no, she's just my friend and I'm just supporting her because I have a surplus of money. But the wife says, what the hell? We have a son as well. Like, you're never home. You're constantly with her, having meals with her, talking to her kid. So that's emotional cheating over a long period.
Absolutely.
And innocuous flirting, like for example, like sometimes with college friends, if you have an old friend who's been your friend for 20 years, you've been nothing but friends, and then you flirt with that person and say, "What? When we're getting married, chal, I'm damn bored these days." Like a silly joke, it's like a recurring gag from college. Then that technically somebody may say, "Oh, this is emotional cheating," but it's their little inside joke, all right? So that may not even constitute emotional cheating. So we need to see in counseling, right? It's very important for us to understand the exact nature of the problem before we start doling out advice, or which we're not supposed to do, or we start saying, "Oh, this is what you do, this is what you're doing wrong." No, we need to know, since when has the flirting been taking place? How do you know this person? What is the relationship with this person? Has there been any sexual contact? If yes, how frequently? So it's literally like conducting a survey. So the emotional, if someone just flirts with the opposite sex after getting drunk at a party, it could be a one-off episode. If there is a trend of flirting with the opposite gender because one's emotional or physical needs are not being met, then that's a problem, and that's indicative of a personality type, and that's indicative of a recurring choice that the partner is making, that I choose to ignore you and I choose to divert myself towards these other individuals who I find more riveting and interesting and tantalizing, and so I'm going after the forbidden fruit, so to speak. Sometimes it's also done as a stunt to piss off the partner, that, oh, you remember you ignored me that time, so now I'm going to ignore you this time. It becomes a scorekeeping exercise as well. The wife says, I'll flirt with his friends because he DM'd my friend and bitched about me. I went to my mother's place the last time we had a fight. So now I'm going to do something. So then it becomes I hit you, you hit me back. I hurt you, you hurt me back. And that is usually where most relationships get off balance, because there is no will to grow. There is no will to talk. There is no will to negotiate. You think your relationship is custom made for you? Of course not. It has to be customized by you through the art of negotiation, which unfortunately your schools and families and friends are not teaching you. You have to get better at it. No. Otherwise it's going to be, you're going to be running after fool's gold,
True. Very true. Interesting perspective. Thank you for that. So, okay, now getting down to specifics. What percentage of couples do you think recover from an episode of cheating and stay together despite the odds?
Well, most couples that recover from the cheating are those who stand to lose a lot of sleep, because, as I said, their life has been upended, or their children are being taken away from them, or they lose out on the luxuries of life, or they have been friends for a very long time before they got married. They were friends for 15 years before they got married. I'm talking about that kind of longevity to the, to their association with each other. Such relationships are likely to survive because they have seen each other through various seasons of life. Now, for example, in the case of an arranged marriage, where the only reason you all are together is because your families deemed it appropriate, your age appropriate, community appropriate, socio-economic strata appropriate, and then if there is an episode of infidelity, then the person says, I barely even knew man, and look at him, he's now cheating on me, and I don't stand much to lose, fine, whatever, I didn't even know him. So then it may be a lot easier for them. So what is the stake you have? What is the stake? And for how long has that stake been at a certain level of prominence for you?
So
And
then it's rare, according to you.
there's no percentage. I don't sit and do.
But there are cases where it does happen more frequently, or is it both ways?
Both ways, yeah, both ways, Noor. I'll tell you honestly, some people, it really depends, as I said, on what you have wanted for yourself since the beginning. So if you've always envisioned a very happily married life with loyalty, with kids, with international holidays, without those complications, and you don't want to keep a scorecard with your partner. You want her to be happy. You want to be happy. Then your willingness to negotiate will be much higher. Because you understand that no one perfects marriage in the first week. Okay, a marriage is perfected through a lot of rehearsal. There are a lot of awkward conversations, a lot of challenging topics sometimes. But how do you navigate through them? See, some people say, oh, we want to avoid difficult situations. I say you can't avoid them. You only get better at handling them based on your understanding of who you are and of who your partner is and what is shared. Some things are shared and some things are for the individuals to enjoy and to live out. Remember, these are two individuals coming together, so they need to have their combined journey and also their individual journey that runs on parallel tracks.
Absolutely.
All right.
But I think the most important thing that I can glean from this is that it doesn't then necessarily signal the end of a marriage, having an affair. You can, if you want to, you can work through
If you want to. But again, depends on who you are. Like someone said, Aman, would you want to? I said, hell no. If I was married, I said, I am done.
Yeah.
But
it's also interesting because I am married and I feel like even I would say that answer. But then if I was ever in that situation, I don't know what I would do, right? That's interesting.
Speculation can only take us so far. It really depends on what you feel you are standing to lose and whether, you want to repair and go into damage control mode or you want to just dust your hands off and say, too much for me, too much, can't take it, won't take it, have never taken it.
Absolutely.
So it depends on how ransom are you to the standards that you have created for yourself. Do you hold yourself ransom to them? And sometimes that can be a very, very bad thing. Sometimes that can also be a pretty good thing. Like I hold myself ransom to certain standards of, friendship. Like I understand what I'm willing to offer a friendship, but if someone shows me disrespect or is extremely boorish with me or extremely lewd with me or doesn't treat me right, I usually cut them loose. I'm like, okay, I get it. You don't know how to. Maybe you won't learn. And I have no time to teach you how to be respectful. So we keep our social distance, both literal and metaphorical. I block your ass and you're out.
Yeah.
Why? Because I don't want to teach you and I don't want you to reach me because I'm tired and I have bigger fish to fry. I have work to do.
Yeah.
We all have our priorities. All right, we all have our priorities. So before you decide to either end a relationship or fix a relationship, ask yourself the very basic question, what did I want from this relationship in the past? What do I currently want? And what do I hope to want as it evolves? Because these may be three completely different things, but we have to make our decisions based on where we are today, not where we were, or not where we wish we were, or not where we will be. So right now, how do you feel about it? That's the here and now has to dictate your decision making. So there's no right way, the right thing to do is forgive your partner because men make mistakes or because women make mistakes, or the wrong thing to do. There's no right or wrong. It's all about what can you live with. So I usually ask people कि जिस काम से आपकी नींद अच्छी निकले वो usually सही काम होता है और जिस काम से आपको अंदर से feeling आती है कि क्यों मुझे नींद नहीं आ रही. So at some level you got to trust your instinct as well. And yes, sometimes your instinct can also lead you helter-skelter. So then you go to a counselor. Come to me, go to someone maybe with a longer beard or whatever. Up to you. All right? It really depends on what you want.
So what do you recommend in these situations? That the person comes alone or that they come as a couple to sort these problems out?
See, the willingness of the partner to engage in the therapy process also has to be ascertained. So, does he or she believe in the idea of therapy? Some people are very bitter about it. They're like, what? मैं पागल हूँ क्या? I don't need to go to a shrink. I don't need to go to a counselor. ये सब पैसे बनाने के लिए बैठे हुए लोग हैं. So they have that mindset. They don't believe a guy like me can help them. So they come with that attitude that contaminates the process. Right? The reconciliatory process is very delicate because it's earmarked by apologies, by communication, by showing empathy, by showing that you've understood what's wrong and what needs fixing. If you're unable to demonstrate that to your partner in front of the therapist, the partner is going to say, look, this is how he is or this is how she is. And that's why it's not working. So there is hope if you believe in hope. And there is nothing to be found if you believe there is nothing to be found. So again, it all goes back to what do you believe? What do you believe? Do you believe there's a way out of this? Or do you believe that you'd like a way out of this?
Okay. Okay, so then please share some tips on how marriages can perhaps survive an episode of infidelity.
Well,
Actually, I'll rephrase, not just marriages, relationships also.
well, the first thing to do is you got to be honest about your apology, and you got to understand that just because you've apologized, it doesn't insulate you from the consequences of the decision you made. And if I may add, it's a very shitty decision because you have put yourself in the line of fire. Now your partner is in a position to choose you or to toss you out and say, you know what, I didn't feel respected, or I felt humiliated, or that this is not what I wanted, so now it's over. So it's like this. You got to be honest and earnest with your apology, knowing fully well that it may not land and it may not fly at all. Your apology might as well be rendered in Japanese to a person who doesn't speak Japanese. It may just sound like noises to the person saying, I can't hear any word. That's it, you're out. Or the person may say, all right, I'm willing to give you a chance because I believe in human potential, because I believe in you, because I believe that you're better than this. So you got to be earnest. You got to be honest. You got to be. You can't be one of those people who says, "Acha, theek hai na, sorry, ho gaya na, sorry." That's not earnest. That's in a way a surrogate way of saying, "Stop nagging me. Here's your apology. Take it and absolve me." What is this? The church? Pardon my French. Where you go to the priest and say, "I screwed up." He puts some holy water in you and says, "The Lord forgives you." That's what I tell people. What do you think this is? The damn church? Even that's an organization. So they have a certain procedure that they follow. A human being with a human journey, with human emotions, with human expectations is not just going to give you forgiveness because you feel apologetic. Because just like you're on your timeline where you have now felt repentance and now you want to move towards reconciliation, that person is on a separate timeline. That person probably doesn't want to see your face again. That person wants to punish you. Like a Tarantino movie. तुम सोच रहे हो सूरज वर्जातिया, वो सोच रहे हैं अनुराग कश्यप. कैसे होगा? It's a different language being spoken. So the tips are also do it under the care, supervision, guidance of a trained relationship counselor. This is not just me plugging my services. You can go to someone else that you know as well. Some people insist, they say, oh, we want a female therapist. All right, then they'll go to someone like my mom, exclusively deals with cases on the verge of divorce. And she actually helps them even craft their apologies to each other so that the apology seems earnest. So it's not a okay na, chhod do na, sorry na. Because then that feels disingenuous.
Absolutely.
Right? So these are
totally
off the bat. You got to know what you're sorry for. You got to know what you're sorry for. Not just, oh, I'm supposed to apologize. I read it in some article in Men's Health. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, fine. Let's say that there has been infidelity and they have gone to a counselor and they have sorted things out. And now they seem to be on the road to recovery emotionally, but they are unable to, sort of reignite the spark in bed. Physical intimacy takes longer. So then what tips would you suggest for couples in that situation? How can they rekindle that magic?
I think once the emotional relationship improves, the physical relationship will improve as well. And if they've gone to the counselor and the emotional relationship hasn't improved, then maybe they've not gone to a counselor who's competent at helping them deal with their problem. And that is a very, very common problem in India as well. A lot of people moonlighting as healers and, as therapists without any paperwork to prove it. No one's going to ask. So they are going to lead you astray. There's this thing I keep talking about in all my talks, which I have a pet peeve with. Be positive. Life has given you so much. So be positive. So even when I saw the topic for today, this is how to find positivity. that usually really grinds my gears. I'm like, why does everything have to be positive? Why can't we just be realistic? Because a lot of life is lived in this haze of ambivalence. So very often people say, what is your opinion? So I say, I don't know enough to form an opinion. They say, why don't you know enough? I said, because I have a lot of things I do at the same time. So when I know enough, I'll give you an opinion. Maybe by then your interest will die. But it's very important to have all the information first before jumping to conclusions, right?
Okay, great. Okay, so these are the questions that I had for you, but I'm going to quickly go through. If there are any audience questions, I request people to put them in the chat box now. I'll be taking some. Until then, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your third book, your upcoming book. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, why not? So my third book will be coming out soon. It's called Sex Scraps and Sex Traps, or is it the other way around? Sex Traps and Sex Scraps. I'm so confused. I don't even know my own book's name. Is this
Well, it's not out yet. It's okay. By then you'll know.
It's not out yet, in my defense. So the entire book is based on a collection of questions and answers that I have been writing for the Free Press Journal. So I have a column that runs called Sex and the City in the Free Press Journal.
Just like Carrie Bradshaw's.
Carrie Bradshaw, that's Sex in the City. Aha! It's a common mistake.
Oh, really?
That's right. Oh,
Dang. Oh.
I
mean, I'm a fan of the show, but I never realized it was
Sex
in the City. Yeah.
All right. All our gray areas. Everything is gray. So basically, the entire premise of the column is to help couples through relationship problems that usually also lead to sexual problems. Things like infidelity, what we're discussing today, people with a history of sexual abuse as children, closet homosexuals as well, and how do they come clean with their partners. And people having afterthoughts after sex, before sex, during sex. How do we really deal with these emotionally loaded questions that come to our mind that no one's going to answer because it's too taboo or cliched? Sorry, not cliched, too taboo or a topic to discuss with your family. Everyone's huddling and talking about it, but there's also no expert available, or the so-called available experts are very expensive. So this book simplifies the unraveling process for people, so they can unravel what's going on in their minds and in their relationships. So that's what the book's about, and yes, it will be out very soon. Currently working with the publisher, as I said, a lot of back and forth.
That's a very relevant topic. I mean, wide range of topics. Yeah. I think perhaps in India, one of the biggest issues is a lack of knowledge too, right? Yeah. I mean, we're never given adequate sex education at a young age, and it's really unfortunate. Do you think you would ever want to change that?
Well, my father has been working since the 80s in the field of sex education. He's also a published author. Those of you all watching, just Google Dr. Aman Bhonsle. I mean, whether it's India Today or Outlook Express, he's like out there. He's one of the top doctors in the field as well. He's been trying so hard. In fact, he had also spoken to Vilas Rao Deshmukh when he was alive on how do we institutionalize sex education. And then, of course, this being India, sometimes the party changes, the interests, ministers change, histories change, the narrative changes, and everything gets lost in translation in time.
So unfortunate.
The deadlocks can sometimes occur in such situations, and how do we redeem the situation, or do we redeem it? So that's what we privately at the Heart Counselling Centre also conduct, a sex educators certification program, which my dad runs, on how to train people to become sex educators. So a young child can be educated and given certain tips, certain values at the early stages of their life, so they don't grow up being insensitive to the opposite sex, and so that such people are also less likely to be preyed upon and less likely to become predators as well, because they have the information in their hands.
I agree, and that is actually what we need more than anything. So I hope that you continue the crusade till we do achieve something. So I think there are no questions. Lots of people waving, but no questions.
Waving, all right, guys.
Yeah.
This can feel like a very personal thing to talk about in live. I get it, guys.
I think people are a bit scared to ask.
And I'm telling you honestly, I've never said this publicly that I was cheated on as well. I was much younger, of course. I had more hair on my head, and as I say, it's very. See, you go through several stages through the grief process as well. At first, you feel a sense of disbelief. You say, really? Really? No, it seems like something's wrong, something's missing. Then you feel a sense of deep grief. You feel like this giant void in you, and that sadness begins then that, oh my God, I was made a fool out of. And that can feel, that can lead to legit depression as well, you know. And then typically you see movies like Kabir Singh and Devdas, the man drinks himself, or, you know, they put on weight, or they suddenly become gym freaks and go on green juice fasts, or whatever. Or they become very, very misanthropic. They become very, very pessimistic about life, about love, about the idea of trust. So everyone goes through these phases. I too went through a few of these stages. But it's very important to give yourself time after being cheated on, and to gather as many perspectives on the situation, so that if you have been a contributing factor to the fact that you got cheated on, someone will say, no, but it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. But you need to understand why you were cheated on. So if there's a mistake you've made, or if there is something you overlooked, you don't do it again. So you have to get into the diagnostics of it before you get into a full recovery. And the diagnostics will help expedite the recovery. You got to look at what went wrong. How did I participate in letting this happen? Or what did I do or not do that led to this situation being what it is, the unpleasant situation it is?
So actually there are a couple of comments, and I'll just read out one incident that the Jason XLR01 is saying. So he said that I was cheated by my Mexican girlfriend. We had a long distance relationship. I'm trying to get over it, but it's still really hard. Now, it's not clear if he's still in the relationship or if he's still dealing with the grief of being cheated on. And you have answered it somewhat, but perhaps you can give him some personalized advice.
Well, here's the thing, buddy. If you are still connected with your ex on social media, I suggest you really create a gap. Just go off each other's socials, stop following her. See, it's like this. When you want to remove a band-aid, go to rip it off. You don't do it in installments, because then that's going to hurt. All right. So when you break up, look at the words also. It's a break up. So something has to break. So communication has to break. There has to be a break. All right. So that needs to be done if you haven't already. And if it's the grief you're dealing with, yes, you should go see a counselor. Because the more you talk about your pain, the more it leaves you. The counselor also is equipped to give you certain exercises and what we call homework assignments, where you do self-work, and where that catharsis takes place, almost like a detox process at a certain interval, so that anger, that resentment, that sadness, that fear, that that you're holding, that kind of lightens up over time. Because only once the catharsis process is complete can the recovery take place. It's like this: you cannot dress the wound till it's first disinfected. You got to first put your salve on, you got to get the stitches, then you got to remove the stitches. There's a certain process that even dressing a wound follows. Similarly, emotional wounds are not just anyone can send you all kinds of motivational quotes on Instagram. That's not going to change things unless you first get all that venom that you feel out. And that requires guidance, facilitation. And definitely
so he's actually responded, Doctor. Sorry to interrupt,
No problem.
but he's saying that she was my first love and she broke my plans, and I expected too much, but she doesn't want to change. He's clearly grappling with a lot of emotional grief from the looks of it.
Most people don't want to change, buddy. I mean, that's just truth, because most people think that they're fine as they are. Also, people are more in love with their habits and patterns than they are with their families and spouses. Remember this, write it down somewhere. People love their habits and patterns and routines more than they even love their families and their mothers and fathers. Remember this. And most people will never admit this, because it makes them look extremely juvenile or extremely stuck in their ways. No one likes to feel conceited, but this is the truth. We're all, as in TA, we say, everyone carries a script, and the integrity of the script has to be protected. That's what we tell ourselves. So when I teach people transactional analysis, I also teach them how to rewrite their script. Now you're wondering, kaun sa script? A script is a life plan that you wrote for yourself when you were 5 years old to the range of 7 years old, and you have been adhering to that plan even through your 40s because you didn't even know you've written the plan. For example, if you've been rejected a lot as a child, maybe you didn't have too many friends, or maybe you were not one of the popular kids, then you wrote a script that says, I will never be accepted. So every time someone ignores you, what plays in your mind? I will never be accepted. Even if they ignored you, maybe because they were playing on their new phone, or maybe they ignored you because they were in a hurry. But you keep connecting that to your own past because you want to make sense of a random, unrelated event by telling yourself, oh, I'm always going to be rejected and left in the lurch. So, for example, if your partner cheats on you, you say, I will always be rejected and left in the lurch. Even though her reasons for cheating on you in no way prove that you are unlovable or worth being cheated on. So the first thing you need to do is please stop blaming yourself. Please start examining the ingredients that went into this mess. Did you let things pass? And yes, पहला प्यार हमेशा सबसे ज़्यादा तकलीफ देता है. Speaking from experience, it hurts.
And I agree. I think everybody would agree.
A person who is tossed into a swimming pool for the first time experiences a mortal fear that cannot be described. Or when you first ride a cycle without training wheels and you feel like you could fall into the damn gutter, that's also quite fearful, but you learn. But you figure it out. Your first job, your first anything is going to scare you, and it should, because that means you're alive and you're human and you're like the rest of us. Courage is in doing it despite the fear that is holding you back.
So he has actually commented here now. He's saying she didn't communicate well in the last call, and it seems like I was the imposter and responsible for everything.
Well,
So I actually will encourage you, Jason, I'm not sure if that's your name, to get in touch personally with Dr. Aman and take this forward, because I see that you'd like to have I think you need to have an in-depth conversation. I hope you agree with me, Dr. Aman.
absolutely, because yes, we need to keep time. Sorry, Jason, but I have so much to tell you, but yes, we'll have to do this in a more structured manner, of course.
But I'm also going to encourage the rest of our audience, if there's anything on your mind that you felt uncomfortable, perhaps stating publicly, you can always reach out to Dr. Aman through Instagram, or just go to his clinic if you're in Mumbai, book an appointment and do that. So thank you so much.
Google me, guys. My number is all over. Or just DM me on Instagram. I'll walk you through how to get an appointment, all right? I'm not seeing people face to face. It's only video calls like this because of coronavirus, right? So I want everyone to be safe. Wash your hands, guys. But yes, sanitize your expectations as well, all right? Remember, it's our expectations from situations that sometimes drive us crazy and make us miserable, not the situations themselves. You change your beliefs, you change the way you see things. That's how it works.
True. Very well said. And thank you so much, Dr. Aman, for joining us today and for having this candid chat. I think we all learned quite a bit, and now we know that, it's not always the sufferers, they're not to blame. So I think that's most important. So I'm just getting a couple more. Yeah, they're all just saying thank you so much. Lots of comments saying thank you, and it was quite insightful.
And guys, just to close, I'll repeat something I said earlier. Don't force yourself to look at things from a positive perspective, because that can be more painful. Sometimes real life ain't pretty, guys. What can I say? Sometimes real life is unfair. It's brutal, it's opportunistic, and people have the attention span of goldfish these days. No one really cares about what you went through, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. So if you go out there telling people about how miserable you are, how things didn't work out for you, a lot of them are going to be like, oh, so bad, so sad, but they don't give a damn. You're like a variety show for them. And that's what it is. So be very, very particular about who you concede so much of your life to. If you need help, please go to the right people. Please make sure they have their papers in place. Don't just turn anyone into a guru, because they can do more damage. Then you'll have emotions about the emotions you have, and then there's double level work that needs to be done. So that's just a cautionary for you guys.
Absolutely. So there are lots of thank yous. I think you may have seen a couple of them on your screen, but from me and from Bonobology too, thank you so much, Dr. Aman, for joining us to check out his Instagram page. And of course, if you'd like to get in touch with Bonobology's counselors, check the link in bio. And once again, guys, I'm Noor Anand Chawla. You can come on, check out my Instagram feed too. I create lifestyle content. And of course, if it's something far removed from what we discussed today, but it's fun and light.
That's
So
cool.
thank you, everybody.
If I need to buy handbags or packages for a woman,
You know where to go.
You know I'm going to call you for some advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much once again, everybody, for joining us this Friday evening. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.